Hey everyone, Steve from Make Your Own Fun here. In this video, I'll be having a look at what it's like to use the DualShock 4 for the PlayStation 4 on the Sega Saturn. There's an almost 20-year gap between this controller and that console, but thanks to companies like Retrobit, there are now ways to bridge these two pieces of technology if for some reason you really want to. To make this work, we'll be using this little dongle. And there's not much to it. When you take the cap off, you've got a male Saturn connector on one end, and then the other end has a clicky button to enter the pairing mode with a small hole that you can see an LED through when it's on. There's also a micro USB port for updating firmware, which you're going to want to do as soon as you get it, because out of the box, the left analog stick will do nothing at all. Luckily, downloading the latest firmware and updating is pretty straightforward. Getting it all hooked up is simple enough as well. You plug the dongle into your Saturn, turn the console on, press the PlayStation and share buttons on the controller to enter pairing mode, and hold down the button on the other end of the dongle until they sync up. I found that when you turn the console off, the controller turns off soon after and quickly pairs up again when you turn them both back on. Now I'll just quickly try some games. For reference, here's the button layout I found the DualShock 4 to use, which I couldn't find documented anywhere and we're pretty much stuck with, so it's worth keeping that in mind. First up is Street Fighter Alpha. Now I just want to mention the obvious weirdness going on with the aspect ratio. At the time of recording, I didn't have a remote for this TV, but I have now ordered one online, so hopefully I can see what's up with that. Alpha is playing great, and after remapping the buttons in-game to match a traditional Street Fighter PlayStation layout, everything synced perfectly fine. I'm able to pull off all the typical moves you need, and even get a super in there for good measure. It's a great game that would still be great with basically any controller, so at least we're off to a good start. Next up is Sega Rally. Now having an analog stick here is a game changer. With the amount of fine turning you need to do, the level of control provided by the modern analog stick helps you focus on where the car needs to go without the fear of over and understeer. Obviously the Saturn 3D controller offered this in the past, but if you have modern gaming sensibilities, then you'll feel more or less at home using the PS4 controller, once you get used to accelerating and braking with Circle and X. Now, I thought an interesting game to test with this layout would be Virtua Fighter 2, because the series famously uses only 3 buttons for the most part, and it's exactly here when I realized how annoying the default button mapping used by this dongle can be. To be honest, I didn't try remapping the buttons, which I should have, but you do pretty much get used to using just 3 buttons anyways, regardless of where they're mapped. Definitely still a fun experience, just nothing new offered by using the PS4 controller. Okay, so quickly last up is probably what many Saturn fans first think of when they hear analog sticks, and is arguably the most fitting game for the controller, Knights into Dreams. Just like Sega Rally, moving with a modern analog stick here is smooth as butter and helps achieve that flowy gameplay Knights is famous for. But remember, if you're going to buy one of these adapters, update the firmware first thing, because otherwise you'll have no analog stick and you'll be playing Knights with a D-pad like a pleb. So that's pretty much it. It's definitely pretty cool to be able to use a modern controller like the DualShock 4 on your retro Saturn, and the good news is that the dongle also connects to Xbox One and Switch Pro controllers, so that's neat too. If this sort of thing interests you, then it's probably worth picking one up even as a novelty, but if an important part of your retro gaming experience is using the original controllers, then it's probably not for you at the moment. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.